Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming a little tier ranking of all the books I read in 2021. So first thing I want to say is Happy New Year to you guys, happy 2022. This video is being posted a little bit late. It will probably be mid-January when I post this, so I apologize for that and any background noise that is going to be in this video because the planes are still going over my head. So as we know, 2021 was an interesting year. So where I lived, I had about 4 or 5 months of lockdown, and that was a mix of emotions. But the one thing I did take away from lockdown is reading. I became a readaholic. I read pretty much every single day to keep my sanity. So in 2021, I read 24 books, which is a lot. Hello, Editing Angel here. I just wanted to mention that I actually read 25 books instead of 24 in 2021. The database I was referencing was my Notion database instead of my Goodreads, which is where all my official books are. So I just wanted to clear that up. Okay, back to the video. I'm gonna stop rambling and we can actually get on into the video. So I'm back in my little circle here on the screen. Again, I'm looking to the sides because that's where my laptop is. So first I'm going to go through is all the tier rankings, and then we'll go through what I ranked each book. My 5-star category, my 5-star tier is going to be Would Love to Be Stranded on a Desert Island With, and then my 4 stars is Fabulous, Simply Fabulous, and then 3 stars is Yes But No. Like, there are some books that are just iffy, you know, that I liked but could have been better. And for 2 stars we've got and for 1 star we've got Decorative Purposes Only. So let's get on to the fun bit. Also, I did forget to mention that all these books at the bottom are in chronological order. So the first book we've got is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I know there are some controversial opinions about this since it wasn't written by J.K. Rowling, but then there's also some controversial opinions because J.K. Rowling. But for the book purposes only, I really enjoyed this book. Immediately going to 5 stars because this was the first book I read in 2021 and literally got me out of a book slump. Loved it. I think I read it in one day. I just absolutely love Harry Potter. Next book we've got is Calm, The Magic of Sleep. I believe that this book is written by the CEO or creator of the Calm app, and boy have I got a story to tell. Okay, so the physical book was really nice, the graphics, the pages, the book itself was really nice. It had some great tips, but when I tried to follow these tips, I actually couldn't go to bed that night. I ended up going to bed at 3 o'clock that night, but that heavily impacted how I judged the book, so that is immediately going into 1 star. Decorative Purposes Only. Next book we've got is The Schoolgirl Who Went on Strike to Save the World. This book is like a biography of Greta Thunberg so far, and immediately going to Would Love to Be Stranded on Desert Island With. This was really informative book. I learned a lot about Greta. This book was amazing, very well written as well. It wasn't dragged out at all. The next book is They Both Die at the End. I have some opinions about this one. Okay, so I think this was the first official book talk type of book, and it had so much hype and everyone was like, oh my gosh, I cried so much while reading this. So the storyline is that I feel like the concept of this book would have been really cool, but I just feel like the execution was just not where I wanted it to be, simply because of my expectations from book talk. So this is unfortunately going into the Decorative Purposes Only rank. Also, I have included the books I read for school on here because technically I did read them, so they're part of this list. First school book I have is Macbeth, classic. It's going into the yes but no section simply because I didn't love it. Next book we've got is another one that I read for school. It is 1984 by George Orwell. Where do I begin with this book? I feel like the dystopian genre isn't necessarily my favorite, but I feel like the concepts in this book were very interesting and hopefully something that never happens. Again, I didn't really feel an emotional attachment to the characters, but I feel like the ending was a good little twist. I don't want to get very English essay again, but I feel like it really explored the realities of human nature, and I just thought it was a very eye-opening book, and I really like books with deep concepts that I can kind of analyze. So It is also going into the yes but no section because it wasn't the best thing ever, but it also wasn't terrible. Next book we've got is Red, White and Royal Blue. I love this book so much. In short, the book is about two guys. We've got Alex, who is the son of the American Prime Minister, and I believe the other guy's name was Henry, and he's a British prince, and it's kind of forbidden love vibes. They had very good chemistry, and the side characters were well written as well. I feel like it did the representation of young queer love justice, so it is immediately going into 5 stars. Next book we've got is Atomic Habits. Now, I'm not sure if I've said this in a video before, but I've literally recommended this book to all my friends. I love Atomic Habits. I think James Clear did such a good job of articulating ways to make habits and break habits, and it was also very researching this book. So in conjunction with writing how to make habits and break habits from personal experience, he also gave us the facts. The author didn't write it in a condescending tone like, this is what I did, this is what you should do. It was very research based, and because of all the research that happened, this is the best way to make habits and break habits. I just love this book. I'm probably going to reread this book again this year. So it is immediately going into the Would Love to Be Stranded on a Desert Island with. That hearing is a bit long, like the name is a bit long, I realise now. It's okay, we're still going with it. Next book we've got is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This was the first audiobook I listened to this year, and the majority of the rest of the books are all audiobooks. I read this audiobook for free on YouTube, and I'm sure you can still search for it. I think it's still out there. The audiobook was very well read. The guy who reads it is like professional, I think, because he did all the voices beautifully, did the accents justice, and it is a great introduction into Greek mythology if that is something you want to explore. I personally am not a very big Greek mythology gal, but I really liked the writing style in this book. Madeline Miller writes in such a beautiful way, and the ending had my heart. I absolutely love this book. Although I didn't cry in this book, I feel like it was a very sweet story. Again, good representation of young queer love. This is immediately going into the 5 stars. I'm just gonna call it the 5 stars tier ranking from now on. Okay. Next, we've got The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This book is also being made into a movie, which I'm yet to watch. I think I'm gonna watch it sometime next week with my friends. This book is something else. Okay, at the beginning I was kind of hesitant because it was very hyped on TikTok, but let me just say, Joshua Templeman has my heart. Someone please find me a Joshua Templeman. Only thing was Lucy, the main character. I know, I got some interesting vibes from her. She was an okay narrator at the story, but I just didn't like how at every corner she was mentioned as short, like my short body to his, the fact that I had to reach on my tiptoes to kiss him. But The Hating Game is basically an enemies to lovers workplace romance. That's the best way I can describe it. Absolute banger. I would read this again, but unfortunately, because Lucy was not my favourite main character, it's going into the fabulous, simply fabulous. Just missed out on the 5-star tier rank. Next we've got The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This book, I have so much to say about this book. Okay, so Taylor Jenkins Reid is an amazing writer. After reading this book, I literally searched up Evelyn Hugo because I thought she was a real person. That's how well illustrated and well written this book was. Absolutely loved it. So in short, the book is about a celebrity named Evelyn Hugo, and she recruits this writer, Monique, to basically write a biography about her life and her 7 husbands, as she's going to auction all her dresses that she's worn to famous events. And as an audiobook, this book was so well expressed. I love how the story went through all of Evelyn's 7 husbands in a kind of way that it flowed, not necessarily that there was a break between some of them, but it just flowed as well. This book was absolutely not what I was expecting. I usually don't read the blurb of books just so I can just go in with a little bit of mystery, and this book absolutely changed my expectations. I'm hoping to read more books from this author this year. I have no words for this book. I absolutely love it. And I was very emotionally attached to the characters, which is not something I usually am. And the ending twist absolutely had me shaking in my bed. Absolutely loved it. It is immediately going into the would love to be stranded on a desert island with. Love, love, love. I would recommend this book to anyone. Love the representation, love the writing style, love the book. Next book we've got is If I Never Met You. So I found this book when I was searching for more underrated POC representation romances. In short, this book is about a main character who was with her longtime boyfriend, Dan or Daniel, I believe. I don't remember his name. That's how irrelevant he was to the story. Well, he was relevant, anyways. And then the main character meets this guy called Jamie, and they go through the fake dating trope, which I felt like could have been better executed, but it was a cute story nonetheless. My expectations had been lifted from the previous books I've read, so it's just staying in the middle for now. It's chilling. Next book we've got is Punk 57, notorious for its very, well, I don't even have to say it. I'm sure you guys can look it up on the internet if that's what you want. But besides all that stuff, I feel like the plot was decent. It felt like a very Wattpad published book, but in a good way. I really, really, really liked Misha and Ryan. The only thing is there were some slight hints of homophobia, which I didn't really appreciate. So for that reason, this book is going to fabulous, simply fabulous. Okay, next book is Who Moved My Cheese. The version that I read originally was Who Stole My Cheese, but nonetheless, it is a very short, I'm pretty sure 100-page, under an hour listening time audiobook. It's very allegorical. I feel like it's something you can really analyze. And it was all about change and how you approach conflict and challenging circumstances that you need to. Because at this time I'd read a lot of romance books, so like this book was a nice little breather, little palate cleanser. I think it's just gonna go into 3 stars. It wasn't the best book I've ever read, but it wasn't bad either. I feel like the meaning was there. Next book we've got is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. If you've watched my It Ends With Us reading vlog or watched my week in the life, I had somewhat high expectations for this book, but I was very, very disappointed. Maybe because it was written in 2014 or because I wasn't really a fan of how it was written. This book is going into the 2 stars, the category. Honestly, I just didn't enjoy the characters that much, and it was just not a great time. I don't know. I understand what it was trying to explore, and I feel like trauma in romance books can either really help the plot or really, yeah, I just had really high expectations. They were heavily disappointed. Next book we've got is The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. This book is basically a collection of notes and grocery lists and just thoughts by Matt Haig, who advocates for mental health, and this book is all about depression. I really, really liked how comforting, as the title suggests, this book was, and when I listened to this as an audiobook, Matt Haig was the one narrating the audiobook. So I really think that added to my reading / listening experience. This book is going into the fabulous, simply fabulous. I love reading books about different topics, and that is something I definitely want to explore in 2022. Next book we've got is Renegades by Marissa Meyers. Love this book so much. This book is all about juxtaposition and kind of irony. So our main character Nova is this anti-hero who wants to bring justice to her family and the villain gang that she was kind of raised by, called the Anarchists. And then we've got the love interest. Actually, I wouldn't really call him the love interest, but he kind of is, I don't know. And the other guy, let's just call him the other guy. The other guy, Adrian, who is the son of these 2 heroes. So in this kind of universe, superheroes rule the world. They kind of are the government. So what Nova does is, to get justice for her family, is kind of secretly joins this superhero political system. This book was very, very well written. The interactions between the characters, the chemistry. Honestly, I really, really liked this book. It was refreshing. The only kind of issue I had was with the ending. I kind of saw it coming and it was a little tad predictable, and so for that reason it is going into fabulous, simply fabulous. It is a great book. It's just the ending that kind of got me. The next book we have is The End of Men. Now, this book was basically about a pandemic where unfortunately majority of the men died and the women had to take over. So like COVID, but make it men, I guess. I feel like this book was a kind of multi POV, talking about the experiences of a variety of women, some who had families, some who lived alone, some who had little boys, some who had husbands that were affected by the male plague. Honestly, I enjoyed this book. It was a great fictional getaway from the real pandemic. It was something really interesting, as I feel like it really went deep into all different types of scenarios for what would happen if there were no men, how the women reacted. I feel like in some ways, because it was also written about a pandemic, it kind of explored how a pandemic started and just some ways that the government / political system dealt with it or failed to deal with it in some areas. This book is pretty good. I would recommend reading it. For this reason, it is going into Fabulous, Simply Fabulous. The next book is It Ends With Us. After reading Ugly Love, I had very low expectations for Colleen Hoover because I just ultimately wasn't happy with how it was written, but BookTok got to me. I caved, I read this book, and I swear it was laced with drugs or something. I don't know. The beginning was so addictive. I'm pretty sure I read this book, but I listened to it as an audiobook in a week. I do have to say though, from the beginning, it was a teeny weeny predictable, but nevertheless the journey was emotional. And originally I hadn't read much about the topics that were explored in this book. It was kind of inspired by Colleen Hoover's real life. Really made this an interesting read. So for this reason, it is also going into Fabulous, Simply Fabulous. I feel like a lot of my books are going to the 4-star category. Next, we've got Date Me, Bryson Keller. This book is about the fake dating trope and, again, young queer love. I feel like that was a very popular book genre in all the books I read last year. But nonetheless, it focuses on the journey of self-acceptance and in a family that doesn't necessarily accept you for who you are because of religion. The only thing was, I feel like this book was a little unrealistic because of the way the love interest behaved. He just seemed to be okay with all the decisions. I really liked how the author gave all the characters their own problems, which gave them a little bit of depth. So for this reason, it is going into yes but no. The next book we've got is The Six of Crows. Fantasy is not usually my genre of books. I picked this up with low expectations. After reading it, I really enjoyed this book. I felt like it was something new, something refreshing. A lot of adventure, again, good representation of teenagers and just the young world today. So basically it's about a band of thugs who accomplish the almost unaccomplishable. I really liked and since this book was written in multi-POV, each character was voiced by a different voice actor. That really aided to understanding who was who in the beginning. Absolutely love this book. It is going into the 5 stars category. And following that, right after I finished Six of Crows, I read Crooked Kingdom. I could not stand the cliffhangers. I needed to know what was happening. Crooked Kingdom, I felt like was a bit sadder than Six of Crows, and because I had such high expectations after reading Six of Crows, I feel like Crooked Kingdom didn't really do that justice. And also, it was a very slow burn romance. Different to all the other romance books on this list, there was a drop of romance. I feel like this book was very much more plot than relationship building, character building, and for that reason it is going to Fabulous, Simply Fabulous. You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. Now let me just say, I had very high expectations for this book. Let's just say I was a bit disappointed. I thought because of the cover and the friends to lovers trope, I would really enjoy this book. It would be a nice contemporary romance. But honestly, I didn't connect with the characters that much. And I felt like the book was dragged out a little bit. But honestly, this book was just not my favorite. So for that reason, it is going into the yes but no category. And the last book I read in 2021 was The Kennedy Moment Now, if you had seen this from my other videos, I was reading this book for about 3 months. I didn't really enjoy it, so that's why I kind of put off reading it. For a while, I did contemplate putting it in my DNF pile, but I just felt like, let's just see this story through. It deserves to be read through. So in short, the story was about 6 university friends who all went to Oxford together, and they reunite after, was it 20 or 30 years? But basically their goal is to immunize every child in the world to prevent them from diseases. What they did is they kind of threatened the American government to release a new virus if this goal was not reached. I just like that concept was really interesting, but in the end it was just not something I enjoyed. I felt like the characters were really hard to keep up with because it was written in third person, but overall the execution was just not it, unfortunately. So for that reason, this book is going into the Ha category. Also, if you guys have any book recommendations, please write them in the comments down below as well. I would love to hear from you guys. Hello, Editing Angel here to tell you guys about the 25th book I read in 2021. Although there were super heartbreaking moments in this book and some memories that I find are relatable as the author and I share the same ethnicity, unfortunately, I do not enjoy this book as much as I would have liked, simply because I'm not a huge fan of autobiography or memoirs, so it is going into the 3-star category. And on that note, that is the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Shout out to